Welcome back to the C-Space studio here at CES 2026 for our afternoon session of conversations with leaders in marketing, media, advertising, branding. Boy, do we have a stacked session coming up. And right now, I am here with Microsoft Advertising's General Manager of AI in Ads, Paul Longo. Paul, welcome to the C-Space studio.
James, happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, AI in Ads, Microsoft Advertising. These are great starting points for our conversation. So what does it mean to be the general manager of AI and ads at Microsoft Advertising?
Yeah, I often hear that. Wow, it's a really cool title, but what does it mean?
Yeah.
So it means a few things. So I lead a team of AI specialists that takes AI advertising solutions out to agencies, brands, and partners, and that covers a few different dimensions. One is ads in Copilot environments, so ads in LLMs. We've been live with ads in Copilot for over 2 years now, and we continue to test and iterate there, so that's one component of the role. Another one is infusing our AI tools and technologies that our advertisers use with AI with Gen AI components such as virtual account manager and just making the buying process overall more conversational. And then the last is taking more agentic solutions out to marketers as well, such as a brand agent pilot that we're currently live with.
And where do we have more room to run as far as more progress that we can make? Is it on the generative side of what is going into the creative part of the ads, or is it kind of more the behind the scenes of using AI to optimize everything that goes into getting that ad in front of a person?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I think going back to what I said earlier. I think campaign workflows in general are just becoming more conversational, right?
Yeah.
So you could log into our advertising platform today and use a version of Copilot to find out how your campaigns are performing and how you could optimize. And at the same time, there's Gen AI creative capabilities that enable you to create copy, images, and video. So I think it's happening on both sides in parallel.
ChatGPT itself is only a few years old, so LLMs are, I think, new to a lot of people. But do you already see or sense that because advertising and the nature of what it takes to do it is changing, the kind of person who goes into it is changing, or the way that you hire or look for people to do these kind of jobs is changing?
I'd say, we want people that are curious, that are going to lean in, that are going to test and learn with the technology. So I'd say there's not necessarily like a specific profile, but I think, overall, in the marketing world, it is becoming a little bit more technology forward.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a trend that we're going to see happen more.
It's interesting because there's almost a tension there between it's more technology forward, but it's also easier than ever to use the technology. Yeah. So how much do I need to be a technologist, and how much do I need to be, in some ways, a generalist and just be able to ask good questions?
It's a great question. We talk about this a lot, even in the notion of prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is becoming much more conversational now. So yeah. I think even a background in the humanities is super valuable today, because that will help you really take a more humanistic approach for how you're directing AI.
This is interesting. I think this is maybe one of the emerging trends from my conversations here in the C-Space studio is all this technology leads back to the human elements, the humanities, the human conversation, or the ability to think like a human. And speaking of humans, you're here among many here at CES 2026. What's your message here? What are you talking about?
So at Microsoft, we're building towards what we're calling humanistic superintelligence, where humans are at the core of everything that we do. And my team and I were talking about predictions for 2026. One of the ones we were talking about was that AI was really going to move from fear to feel. Okay. And if you think about just some of the human components that AI can enable, if you're leveraging AI to create thousands of versions that are speaking to different cultures, that are speaking to different geographies, it's enabling you to connect on a deeper, more human level with your consumers.
And there's really a big part of the AI conversation that I think often gets missed is it's not about necessarily just replacing an exact task that someone used to do. Sometimes it is, so they can be freed up for other things. But a lot of times it can be about creating things, and you're talking about creative that's targeting so many different specific groups. That was never going to happen when it was all just humans doing it, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of examples where clients have, translated campaigns into several different languages, which would have taken them days or hours, and now it's done literally in minutes.
So I assume that you get to see some pretty cool cutting edge Gen AI capabilities demonstrated. Where do you sense we are as far as what the cutting edge is right now in terms of the ability to produce creative for advertising, how good it looks, and how it can make people feel?
So I think right now it's we like to say that our biggest use for AI is helping to collapse friction, right? And we're seeing that friction collapse on the consumer side, where when consumers are using, at least within the Microsoft ecosystem, Bing plus Copilot, customer journeys are shorter. And then friction is also being taken out of the buying and planning process as well, as there's more conversational AI components. So I think we're seeing it happen in both areas.
And what do you learn from those conversations? I'm not sure if you can extract the data from those in kind of a meta or anonymized way or what, but when consumers interact with AI chatbots and voice agents, they've had a few years to kind of figure this out and maybe hone their ability to do this, but I assume that it continues to evolve. So where are consumers right now in their interactions here?
Yeah, we recently launched a brand agent pilot, and we have 50 retailers that are on board with our pilot. And this is a brand agent that lives on a retailer's website. It embodies the retailer's personality, and really works like a virtual sales agent. And what we've learned, through this initial pilot is that consumers want to have more of a conversational, humanistic, problem-solving type of dynamic versus more of a transactional dynamic. And we've seen some retailers in the pilot that have seen a 2 to 3x increase in conversion rate when consumers are interacting via the brand agent versus just traditional transactional shopping.
So you lean more almost into the human interface than you might think if you were initially programming a bot on someone's website.
Absolutely.
But speaking of going to people's websites, a lot of people aren't necessarily starting with a website anymore. Maybe they're searching for something within an LLM and making transaction or purchase decisions right within that framework. So how are you thinking about, I was going to say future, but really it's the present of people doing all of their shopping and transacting within that kind of an interface?
Yeah, I mean, our approach is to meet consumers where they're at. So, I was just talking about how Copilot, along with Bing, is condensing the consumer purchase journey. Yeah. So we're seeing, a lot of times people will start with search, then they will go into, more of an LLM environment to do more research, and then want to click out and then convert, via, some of the traditional blue links.
Yeah.
We're also seeing consumers that want to transact directly in the LLM environment. So we want to be able to have, meet consumers where they're at, and give them a great experience, whether that's in traditional search or within the LLM itself.
You and I were talking a bit before we officially started recording that this year is going to be about maybe moving from experimentation to more execution. Do you have some examples or notions about how that's playing out?
Yeah, right. Last year when I was in client conversations, it was very much about, hey, how do we test and learn? Like, how do we get a pilot up and running? This year it's more about, hey, we used AI to solve this really gnarly, tricky problem for our business, and now we want to use it to solve another tricky problem for our business. So it's much more rooted this year in solving real business challenges versus testing and learning.
The phrase I hear all the time, and I have heard all the time for maybe the last 10 years of doing these conversations, is early innings, especially as it relates to AI. Are we still in early innings, or are people starting to get some real wins and points on the board, so to speak?
I'd say, yeah, I mean, points are definitely on the board. It's still early. We're building towards at Microsoft an agentic future, right? So if you think about, the human internet, which is, more of the interacting with traditional search and the blue links, that's a human directly interacting with a website. We're in this place today where it's more human to agent. So it's kind of the transitional phase where humans are interacting with LLMs, and we're building towards this future where it is going to be more agent to agent. So I think in that aspect, we are at the early innings, maybe getting towards some of the mid innings, but I think that agent to agent, agentic future is really what we're all building towards, and I think that is going to push us more into the later innings.
So you're obviously a leader in this space. Is there something that you think I should ask other leaders who come and sit in that chair here in the C-Space studio? Something you'd like to know?
I think going back to your question earlier, like, how are they using AI to solve real business challenges? How is AI impacting their consumer purchase journey? How are they balancing trust and responsible AI with taking friction out of their operational process. Yeah, I'd love to know just a lot of those real examples, and I think that's what's gotten me really excited about the conversations that I've had this week.
Well, thanks for being real with us. Paul Longo, Microsoft Advertising. Really appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it, James. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for joining us here in the C-Space studio. So many more great conversations are still to come at CES 2026. I'm James Kotecki. More after this short break.